Hello, friends. I, Ankita Datta, project lead for the Mask series at www.tellmeyourstory.biz, welcome you to yet another episode of the Mask Factor. I am privileged to have with us business leader and author Priyanka Gupta Zielinski this evening, and we are going to discuss a word, an era, a story, and the significance of them all. Tell Me Your Story calls for submissions of short stories and poems on Mask. Also, registrations are open for the writing program season 2 with the story prompt of Women's Silence, which is yet another form of Mask. Let me begin by introducing Priyanka. Priyanka Gupta Zielinski is a business leader and author. Through her writings, she addresses the biggest pressure points facing the next generation of India, their career, love, and marriage. By exploring the role of Indian traditions and repositioning them with a beneficial modern twist, Priyanka seeks to empower India's next generation in their pursuit of new opportunities and fulfillment in their lives and careers. Her book, The Ultimate Family Business Survival Guide by Pan Macmillan, is out now. Welcome, Priyanka.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
It's our pleasure, ma'am. And the pandemic has shown varied faces to various individuals, very different from each other and very difficult to understand and interpret. So, to start on a positive note, do you recollect any personal memory from this COVID era, which could specifically be an incident that can become a silver lining to the hovering black cloud?
Thank you. That is indeed a positive note to start with, and I do have a positive story attached to it. March 15, 2020, it was a big day for my family. My parents were here in Dubai, where I live with my husband and my three children. And while my father and husband shuttle between India and the UAE, we could sense something big was about to go down. We knew they could shut down flights. We were hearing that, there were lockdowns coming, something was going to happen. And we run small businesses. So for us, there was nothing in place to prepare us for this. So we were quite frightened, I have to be honest, and we had to make some big decisions for our business and make a lot of quick changes in terms of how we would survive the lockdown, particularly. And one of the big decisions we made was that we decided my parents will stay. They will not go to Dubai. We did have a few days where they could fly back to India, but we decided no, they'll stay here, and we will start to put in place whatever it needs in terms of mechanisms and systems for my father and husband to work remotely. And then we also, sat down as a family and figured out what this meant for us. And, having three kids now locked in the house, and how we would go through that. And we saw a lot of beauty in that time, because as a family we were forced to come together and really brainstorm and come up with creative solutions. And I felt really humbled that I have such a great support system, because we are a biracial family. My husband is American. He also works in our family business, so the dynamics of him working with his father-in-law are quite challenging. But I feel like for us, those days, that time around March 15, really shaped our COVID experience and helped us make the most of it for our business and our families. So I would pin it down. I put my watermark on that week, in terms of all the things we planned and did, and how successful we were at managing it. So I think for us, it brings positive memories because we were able to, knock on wood, healthily survive the lockdown, keep my parents close to me where we could, be there for them, and keep our kids healthy and happy. So it required a lot of planning and administration and systems to be changed, but I think we came out of it successfully. So that was my positive incident.
Well, that's very nice. Nice to hear because these are rare incidents, obviously. So, I propose to break the title of your book into family, then business, and finally family business. So, how important would you consider the role of the family, in a woman's success? I mean, can family and profession be, exclusive, or are they interrelated?
My goodness. Um, it is a two-pronged question, I think. And, I interviewed and interacted with several women in family businesses, and the stories, I have to admit, were different. There were women for who the family acted as an accelerator in their career path, whether it was in the family business or outside. For many women that I spoke with, the family business offered a launch pad for them to spring off on, and gave them a very nice ecosystem to thrive in. Um, but there were unfortunately several women I spoke with where the family created impediments to their entry into any business and family business, and sometimes even in their choice to work outside or to pursue any career at all. See, because for families trying to support women, we are bringing certain baggage to the table. We are bringing our notions, we're bringing our anxieties about marriage, about the future of the daughter or the daughter in law or the sister, um, and her ability to settle into the in law's family. So sometimes that can cause a lot of chaos, and it can cause unnecessary drama that can prevent women or deter women from joining the business. So I think that the women who've been able to navigate it well have thrived. Um, because whether we like it or not, it is quite interrelated. It's, if you are able to completely make both of them exclusive and operate them in separate boxes or in separate ways in your life, that could be, an interesting story, a model that people would love to look at. But I think in India especially, it is rarely the case. It is rarely the case. Even in my book, I find that most of the examples talked about interrelation between family and professional choice, and the support from the family members. And the interesting thing is, you just need one family member on your side. If you have a large family and there is resistance from certain family members, the positive family member is enough to help you get through it, all the negativity and resistance. So I did find that, I think that there were different opinions in every family, and the women stuck with the positive person or the positive approach, and then they were able to leverage that way beyond even the reach of that person. So I think if you can find that one person in your family who's got your back, it can really help you. It can make things much easier in your professional life.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. So, businesses are known to set up a system that works and eventually step into that space where the system benefits the business. So, as a business leader, what would be your take on this?
It's a very well phrased question, and I have a very interesting answer, because we live in COVID times and we work from home, right? But like, think back 8 9 years, since then I've been able to create a system in our family business of working from home, because our family business is in Bombay, our head office is in Bombay, but none of the factories are in Bombay. They all require drive and sometimes overnight journeys. So I would regularly travel to the family closest to the city, but it would take up the whole day, and it was really exhausting journey. So on the days I was not traveling to the factory, I preferred to work from home if I could avoid the office, because I could get much more done. I could think, I could strategize, I was much more efficient, more productive. So I set up a desk, a full-on little office in my apartment in Bombay, and it became, the norm. It was expected that some days I didn't come to the office and I was working from home, and that system stuck, and it really really helped me, because I when I was married, I was I moved quite a bit for the first few years of our marriage. I immediately went to Washington, then moved to Dubai. But because that system was in place, our family and our business really benefited from it. And I never felt that I had to leave my business, or I was completely kicked out, or I had to exit in order to live my married life, because I always had this connectivity by working from home, working remotely. So I know that there are lots of family businesses out there, because I've interacted with them, I've shared their stories in my book, who've come up with these unique models to involve the women in the household, or to come up with systems and hacks that work for them uniquely. And some of them sound really crazy, but it's amazing how well they have integrated them in their business. So I know that family businesses have such stories. And for me, this is the story where, work from home has been a part of my life for a good part of the last decade.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, coming from a business family, you must have known the language of trade and commerce with great fluency. So, however, I still want to ask, is there anything called fluency when it comes to understanding business practices? I mean, what does it take to build that I will handle it confidence? What are the key factors that help in uncertain times like the present phase when so much unlearning and relearning has taken place?
This is a terrific question, Ankita. Uh, I don't think any of us, especially next generation in our family businesses, have reached the fluency stage. Especially if you talk to our fathers, they will constantly complain and bicker about our negative productivity. That's what my father says, that I'm negatively productive. I cause more harm sometimes. But, in order to build that, I will handle it confidence, it takes immense grit, real courage, comes from the gut, and patience to survive all those difficult years, and endurance. It really, you have to last long enough to even exercise any decision making power. It doesn't come early, it doesn't come. And I'm just going to wait to check it. Is everything okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. And oh, because I could hear something, so I was just wondering if it was a question from
Yes.
someone. Um, and you know, there'll be a moment, and it will you will feel it click. You will feel it when somebody will ask you to take a decision, and you will immediately be able to calculate the risk, and you will know your own individual risk tolerance in a number in that moment. And it could be a business, it could be a financial amount. Somebody might say, after working in a business for a certain number of years, you are now comfortable taking risk of 50 lakhs, because through your work you are able to take that much risk. But that moment will come for you after having lasted a certain number of years, and seeing so much good and bad and negative decisions, and things going wrong and things going well, that you will come to that point. And then from there, that point, your journey will just skyrocket. You will feel like, if you started from a risk tolerance point of, okay, I can handle it worth 50 lakhs, you will see that in the next few years it will go up to crores and much more, because you will see your capacity increase at handling different adverse situations. And that is why I feel like family businesses have such immense power, right? Because in this situation, you're saying there's unlearning, there's relearning, there's undoing, there's redoing, there's fixing all the time. And who better to guide us through it than the people before us, than our parents and the generations who have dealt with this for decades? So, if in the span of one decade, I can tell you there have been moments where I've been able to say, okay, I can handle this much risk, I got this. Now, I talk to my father, he has seen so much adversity and so many difficult times in his life. He can pick something from all those and tailor make a solution now, and that is the beauty of a family business, because you are surrounded with this knowledge which surpasses generations. And and that is why I think the key factors are to recognize what your limitations are as an individual, and walk away from something that's not working. Seek help, seek advice and support of those around you, especially those who are older, more experienced. This is not the time to prove yourself. This is the time to take everyone together, have everyone weigh in, because this is unprecedented situation. And I feel like family businesses are just geared with that. So I feel like they have been and they will prove to be the leaders going forth when we come out of the pandemic, because of how many different generations are their minds are at work to get the company through this.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So this is a personal curiosity. The next one. Do you think that the Indian infrastructure is at a stage where they can readily embrace a female entrepreneur? In a hindrance-free environment. And please tell us some stories from your life to illustrate your response.
You know, the Indian infrastructure industry gets a bad rep, but I don't think that they have any time been causing any hindrance to women's entry into that industry. It has always been ready to embrace a female entrepreneur. I think the industry, the steel industry, the infrastructure industry, it values experience above all else. So you might face ageism, but you may not face sexism as much, I think, because if you last and you show up every day, soon this community around you is going to know to expect you, and they're going to know who gets things done and they know who to go to. And and the longer you last, the easier things become, and I think that is actually true for many industries. What I have found interesting is that the infrastructure industry gets a bad rep because it is not the industry of choice for many women and many families wanting to launch their women in the business, because they feel like it is overwhelmingly male. True that it requires travel and being in difficult physical conditions, some of them dangerous, yes. So those are considerations. But there are industries out there that appear to be very female friendly with no glass ceilings, but you would be surprised if you go and dig a bit deeper. So I feel like the steel industry and the infrastructure industry gets a bad rep for no reason. There is no such resistance. I have been so lucky to work with Indian businessmen and family business owners and suppliers and clients of all ages and regions in India. And I don't think I faced anything. I faced concern. They were concerned for my safety, and really heartwarmingly so. But I think when I lasted long enough, I realized that they were mostly concerned about me being there. They were worried, what if I leave? And I think they value experience, and they're happy to work with you if you're there. So I would like to save the Indian infrastructure industry if I can, even a little bit, from all this negativity that they're surrounded with.
That's lovely. So, your response glides us, into our theme, the mask factor. So, while women have to battle many masks in their personal, social, and political sphere, they themselves also don many masks to maintain balance and push things forward. So, would you like to recall any such mask by a woman which created a benchmark of great leadership? Or could be from your personal or professional life, or any fictional or non fictional character you are aware of.
I really enjoyed reading that question, and I have to say that when you talk about the mask and how so many women are masked in so many different ways because of just the sheer variety of roles they play. I feel like my mother is masked as a housewife. She's a housewife. She stays mostly at home, but she's the most fierce, enterprising businesswoman I know. So it is, she may appear to be behind this veil of being a housewife, but she has been the biggest sounding board for us at work. Helping us navigate difficult decisions and crunching numbers with us, helping us make decisions on which machinery to buy, which client to go with, what terms to go with. I always say my mother can give a tour of any of our business project sites or factories with great technical detail. because of how regularly and deeply she's involved in the business. And I want to extend this masked analogy towards so many women who support family businesses around the world. And we say women work from home. Women have always worked from home. Women have always actively been involved in professional careers of their husbands, their sons, their children, the extended family, whether they have made sure that you have the meal to take with you, whether they've been there when you've been rejected by a job or you've been promoted by a job. And they have been the real sounding boards, the real consultants that people hire now externally within our family networks. So women have been masked in business, they are masked in management studies, and their true worth is not captured enough because their stories are not heard enough, they're not shared enough. And I feel like so many times the narrative is framed from father to son, male to male. And in our generation, I do feel like more women have a voice. We're able to unmask and show a glimpse of our life, but the real unmasking, the real unveiling has to come from the previous generation, where we can really unleash the learning of our mothers and what they know. So I think that is my personal role model and my example of a masked person, my mother.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. That was a lovely answer. Coming to your book revolves around the notion of family business. So, on one hand, the term sounds easy, on the other, it is very complicated. So, on one hand, everything remains in the family, but on the other, the personal finances are an open book, and boardroom complications, they might impact drawing room bonding. So, from that perspective, do you interpret money as a mask too? Or to make it simple, how do you interpret finances in a family business setup?
Oh my gosh, Ankita, money is the ultimate mask. Quite literally. I mean, it can protect us, it can protect those who have access, those who have a lot of it. It creates immediate privilege protection, right? We saw this in the pandemic. People who could escape on jets were leaving, people who could buy expensive equipment, afford healthcare. So we saw how much money mattered, and how much privilege it can create. So yes, it is the ultimate mask. I definitely agree with you. And what a terrific analogy. And I think finances in a family business or in any family globally is such a messy and contentious issue. In India, you look around, we have, our country is rife with examples of family feuds, conflicts over property, over shares, over inheritance, and it's such a shame. And it's such a shame because very little of it is private. For a certain size business, it is, this conflict is now laid open, right? So you're fighting with your brother, or you're fighting with your sibling, or even your father, and now it's in the news, and there is so much that we don't hear, but we still get to hear the negative aspects of it. So it is a real shame. And I see that in India, we are reluctant to talk about it. We see family businesses struggling with it, but so many of our family businesses around us, we are reluctant to talk about money, split of resources. We like to share everything. We like to just pretend everything is equal or everything is normal when it is not. But I know in every family, not everybody has an equal voice, so that creates so many dynamics. And it's a real shame, and I think it's also uh, a little bit lacking on the policy framework from our country. In our country, about 80% of the businesses are family businesses. That's the large variety, the large component. That's a large segment of our economy. They're the biggest job creators also. So it is actually hurting us economically to not solve this problem of finances and conflict. In fact, I have always argued, I've always lobbied that there should be a family business dispute unofficial court, like an out of the court mediation system, which can, swiftly solve these conflicts, because it is a shame how much money, time, energy is wasted. It is still going on. Some conflicts are going on for generation, and I feel like we need to address them. We need to support these families and get them out of it, and then create certain mechanisms and frameworks, even policy wise, so that this doesn't happen to the other family businesses or in the future generations. So it is a shame, and it is such a contentious issue that I see far too often. Money and finances creating issues in family business, and I wish I some of the work I do can help draw more attention to it.
Well, these are really, really issues, actually.
Yeah,
Real issues.
yeah.
So, the book offers a survival toolkit as well. So, can the methods you have described be applicable across sectors? Also, there are millions of aspiring entrepreneurs and budding businesses globally. So, does this ultimate guide cater to all the figures out there, struggling to find a concrete ground in some way or the other? Or is this just for them who are into their businesses for generations?
Thank you for this question, Ankita, because I do try to explain this to my readers that this book does start off with reclaiming family businesses and bringing them in the forefront and the attention of our economy and policymakers. But it provides an extensive toolkit, that is the large chunk of the book, which is applicable for everyone, not just in businesses, in your individual professional career, and it is applicable around the world. It is not centric towards India. And in whatever business, family business, type of business you are in or job you are in, you can apply the toolkit. And the tools are very hands-on, they're very practical. There's something, the metaphors are something that you can really think of and draw on in any aspect of your life, whether you're starting in your career, whether you're a next gen family business, whether you're a parent bringing in the next gen, inducting the next person in, whether you're a manager in a company and you now have to kind of motivate a team of people and get them to work together. So there are tools in it for everyone. And I write from the perspective of a family business owner. I write, I highlight the tools and learnings from family businesses, but they're applicable throughout. So, and I hope that those who are not in family businesses also give it a read if they have some time, because I would love to hear their reviews and their perspective on it as well, to see how much of it they found useful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. So, to conclude today's session, I would like to ask you that success of a book or business is largely about getting the right set of brain to work together on. So, how was the Panama journey for the book, the Ultimate Family Business Survival Guide? We would love to know from you about some of the long conversations you may have had with the editor and why such topics needed such extra attention.
You know, um, I always say this: I'm a luck dominant person. Some people interpret that as being a fluke luck person, fluke lucky. I've always stood on the shoulders of giants, and that is how I have achieved anything in my life. And once a giant that I was able to chance upon was Pan Macmillan. My book is a COVID book. It was finished in the pandemic in the first wave. It was launched in the second wave, and no other publication, no other publisher, and no other commissioning editor outside of T Star could make that happen. I was just so fortunate to have them on my side, and they were incredible. They were clear in all their communication, and they really improved my book with their feedback. And my journey of publication was so smooth. And I'm sure my commissioning editor would like to differ, because she was on the other end trying to correct everything. But she really encouraged me to tease out many different things I was talking about in the book. But the two that stand out the most to me was, she pushed me, said, most people are going to ask you, what about nepotism? We're writing this book to bring out the positive strengths of family business. So why don't you answer that question head on? Take it head on and say, what about nepotism? How do we charge family businesses with nepotism? Is it nepotism when you make, so address that head on? So that was a great push that the great direction she gave me, because we edited and rewrote those parts many times, and that helped me really narrow down, like, okay, this is exactly where I stand on that. And she also pushed me because I kept maintaining throughout the book of how powerful a launchpad family businesses can be for women, right? From my experiences and for the experiences of other women that I interviewed. And she encouraged me to extensively think about gender from different ways, and incorporate that in different parts of the book, to help all the readers understand the power of family businesses, for bringing women into the workforce, right? So I think, without that editorial support, I would have not been able to look at it in such different ways. And I'm so blessed and so lucky to have this, really amazing publishing team. And even now, my book was launched in the heart of the second wave, April 26th. Bookstores were closed, Amazon delivery was closed, and they really, they didn't make me feel any less. My book had a nice launch, and they did so much, and they're continuing to work towards helping me, spread the word. And I feel like they've become such champions of family businesses. So it's really heartwarming to see their support. So I'm just blessed to have found them, and that they took a chance on me. And yeah, what crazy luck. Like I said, I'm a luck dominant person. I'm just surrounded by amazing people whose energy I can leverage. So
So Pan Macmillan, this journey has also become, the silver lining over the black cloud.
course, I know, right? Writing a COVID book, of course. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, at Mask Factor, we discuss new perspectives in each episode. So, thanks a lot, Priyanka, ma'am, for speaking to us about themes that are not spoken so much. And thank you for this very insightful conversation and also for your time this evening. To everyone, let me put a reminder: tell me your story, call for submissions on Mask, and registrations are open for the writing program season 2 with the story prompt of Women's Silence, which is yet another form of Mask. We hope to hear from you. Until then, let us all try to stay well, stay safe, and though dismissed, let us stay together. Good night.
Good night.